then we just click this big button here and it says we're live. Very good. Let's check it out real quick because you never know if it's actually true or not.
I was always really interested in technology as a kid. When I got to college, I didn't study
Oh.
computer science because I kind of had.
So now we have
Genius.
that's a commercial on a different indeed. So there's a different tab open and it started playing a commercial. So all right, everybody, we're live. Welcome. Today we're joined with by Martin. So here's Martin. He's from Denmark, I believe, right? Yeah. So
Excuse the webcam. I have this the new Dell XPS 15 that has this famous chin cam.
Nice. Well, the laptop itself is they say it's a really good laptop to have. So
It's very good.
yeah.
But the webcam is a complete disaster.
Well, at least nobody looks at us for our looks, right? So that's all fine. So let's see. I think I will put you down here a little bit. Do you want to be on the screen? No.
No,
No,
I don't care. No, it's fine.
I won't continue. So I moved you out of the way, so we have this chat for other people. Yeah, so we've already been talking a little bit about what to do next, and we actually have it set up that Martin can also control the screen. So it might become very interesting what will happen. So yeah, we decided. Hey Bart, good morning. Bart is here as well. We decided to start with some player logic, and we want to make it a little bit more interactive. So Martin will also be typing a little bit. So it's like pair programming in the 21st century, I guess. All right. So
We didn't really consider, or at least I didn't consider, that you use PyInfer, right, or something?
well, yeah, it's what's it called? It's not par infer. It is par edit mode.
Okay.
Yeah, it is so set up that you have a hard time to actually make stuff break with the parentheses stuff. So you can just type things and it will try to do the right thing. So, and it is set up to have guru mode. So you need to do the Control N, the Control P, forward, backward. I can disable it so you can use the arrow keys if you want.
Yeah, I normally use the normal sort of control keys in Max too, but let's see how it works out if I need to type something.
I've disabled guru mode, so it should be fine. All right, so last time we left off with a working board that allowed us to click on cells, and the cells would change color. That was done through the event system for within Reframe with the simple toggle cell. We had a small discussion beforehand, and we decided to first focus on getting. Is there a way to turn up Martin's volume a little bit? Well, let's see. I think that's just my volume. So, Martin, can you say something?
Yeah, is this better?
What do you think, Bart? We probably have to wait for the lag. I think I can also move the microphone. I have this really cool little microphone that I use. It is really nice. So let's put it a little bit closer.
It doesn't work. I can use my head instead that the mic in there is.
Oh, that's interesting. Martin, you're breaking up right now. We're trying to do a live thing, and live is always very difficult, it seems. Let's see. Martin, can you say something again? Yeah, that seems to go better. Either Martin becomes a robot or it works really nice. So we'll see. So yeah, we decided to do a player orientation first, so we can switch between the players. The reason behind that is because we then can move on to do the entanglements, and we can track the current player with it as well. So for now, let's just assume that we have two players and we just toggle between them. So we can do player 0 and player 1. So we can have an index. And then we'll do the player registration and logging in and assigning actual names and stuff to it later. So what would happen? We go to the board, that's fine. We toggle, so we need to have a starting player. So let's just assume for now that we have we should probably have something like a state or something. Players probably bad name because we want to have the players here. Players 0 and 1 probably. That would probably be something like the state. Players, whatever. So we have an IDs. We have a current player, which would be player 0. Do we need to track more of the player? No, probably not.
No, I mean probably you want something like a proper name at some point, but you know we can always get back to that.
Yeah, as long as we now can track which player is there, we can enhance that by having more metadata, of course. So
yeah.
So for now, let's see if we probably would be nice to have a field here that says current player. So let's go into the board view. Let's see. So the board is currently just a table. So let's add it as a div, which has a table. And then underneath that just has a paragraph with some data. Let's see, we'll refresh. So we have some data right there. All right, so we need to subscribe to the for now players will be fine. Subscribe to players, right? And let's just add the player information right here. Let's see the subs. Subs as well. We made it especially for the board. Let's see. My laptop is having quite. It is making a lot of noise at the moment because it's streaming the Google Hangout, the live stream, and of course the closure stuff as well. So, but do you hear that on your end, Martin?
No, there's no fan noise that I can hear.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's why I got the mic to start with. So that's beautiful. There's no actual data needed here. DB, that's fine. Layers is fine now. For now. Right, and it is not initialized yet, so let's players. The database has some players, has some IDs that should go through. Let's see the view. it should have the player subscribe, right? So that should work. Probably need to make it a string as well, right? Before that. One thing you notice with live streams, I try to just focus on it during this time. So every time you stop and you need to get started again, it takes quite some time for the within the live stream to actually catch up again, right? So you're in a flow when you're finally at the end, and then you break it off on a purpose. So, all right. So we have the player. So now when we have the event, we can actually use the. We can probably use the entire event system of Reframe to actually do all the game logic as a series of events, right? So
Sure.
yeah. So we can say have a reframe event fx, it would be then toggle player, switch player. So for this single purpose, on every toggle we'll switch the player. No, I'm sure. I want maybe there's an option to not ask this every single time. So it's probably because you're inactive, Martin, because we shared the screen and you're not. Yeah. Let's see the event. There's actually no data here. What do we want? We want to have the DB. Well, there's actually no events at the moment. So we can.
No, I was just about to ask why you wanted that as an effectful.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking maybe there's another step after we switch the player to get the game into a state that says, hey, you need to now perform a play. But for this purpose now, it's the beauty of this system. It allows for quite an easy evolution of the calls, so that's fine. So what we need to do is to source in DB players. What did we call it? Let's just switch the current one. It would be an increment, but then it will just keep going, and we need to actually do a modulo as well, I think, because then we can just toggle and then yeah. Okay, let's see. So this would now become, because when we toggle, we can switch to the different players. So now that means that we will need to switch this to dispatch to the switch player as well. So we should, let's see, this results in a cell toggle. This results in a valid database, right? And then we should be able to dispatch switch player, and that should see this current being toggled all the way up, right? Or not. It does not have. It gets the.
Oh. Are you associating? You're not.
I changed.
So you're basically putting the function into the data structure, not in changing the value.
In this one, you mean?
No, in the switch player.
it should just update this value and then return the dB, no?
Yeah, but you're not associating, you're not updating in.
Oh, seriously, yeah, you're very right. Update in, indeed. And then this should be, hello computer, dB. But this will now be the co-effect, so the problem here is that I keys dB grabbed them. I changed it to an effect, so now you also not only get the dB. So yeah, yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yes, true. Much better. And now we also need to modulo this one, of course. Would that be possible in the same update?
Small anonymous function.
Yeah. So we would have a that would be, what will we get then? We will get the value of current. So this would be current, and then we should say, is it then just mod? Is that the right one? Is it mod? Dot mod? Modulo.
Sorry?
Of number and device truncates toward negative. I'm trying to remember if it is the modulo three should be 0, right? Right. And then having modulo 3 2 should be 1, right? Yeah. So this would mean that if we do the modulo 2 of the increment of current, that should toggle between 0 and 1, right? Or no, modulo 2, this either 0. Oh. This is not right. No. Would it be having the REPL right here, I believe, right? That one I want here. I want to toggle the between the 0 and the 1. So I thought of doing just a modulo, but it would be modulo 1 then. It's always 1. That's not true. No, the divisor is the second one, so this should be mod 1 then. No, that's not right. What would it be? So all you want to say is modulo of the number to the number of players. Would that not work?
If we could do even instead and use that, but the problem is that you have 0 as the base case, right?
Yeah. So we need, yeah, and if we do the modulo thing, then the 0. Any suggestions? No. So let's. I would think the modulo should work, right? But let's first make sure that we get what we expect to get right here. Here it is. So now it's nil, right? Yeah, because so this would be inc current as well, which is exactly the thing that we had before, right? So now it is nil, 1, 2, and well, let's just for argument's sake we have let's go to doc mod. It should say hello computer, right? Modulus of number and divisor. So if we have the number 4 and we have a divisor of 2, we should get 0 because it's the wrong way around. So if we take the 2 and the 4, so the 3 should result in 3, and 5 should result in 1, right? So that means that this being the increment, so but the zeros, yeah.
Hi, and you could also, can I just see
Yeah,
what happens if I type something here?
Go ahead.
Interesting, it has a different keyboard name.
Oh no! What do you have? Do you have the Vorak then?
This is the first, no, this is just a regular Danish keyboard, or I could try to switch it to an English one and see if that...
What do Danish people use as keyboard then? Is that Azerty?
No, it's really odd. This is, what I'm typing here is Shift 8.
True. Try Shift 9.
Okay. There we go.
And then that's next to the P. And the P is...
And if I wanna... This is gonna take some getting used to.
Wait. We'll do
How
X3.
do I get the input brackets? Yeah. We could do...
Shift 9.
Yeah. That's the question mark. There we go.
There we go. Even. There we go. Yeah. We should have tried that beforehand. So beautiful. What are you trying to do?
Now I lost control.
Oh, are you serious? Oh, that's...
Then returns 0, and if 1 return 1. Sorry, if odd, otherwise return
Yeah.
1,
So,
right? Because that gives you what you want.
yeah. Let's do that. Let's see. There we go. If even current would be 1 and else 0, right? There we go. Let's see. Let's give the reload. There it is.
I think even needs to give you 0, right? And
Yes. Right. But current never changes, so we need to do the increment of current, indeed. Beautiful. All right, we got success.
yeah.
Beautiful. All right. So if we have that, if we go into the view, we have this, where do we have it? The cell of type open superposition. We give it a class. Let's see, where did we do that? Subscribe view class if toggle data mark. It has a mark and an open. We should enhance the data here as well with the well, let's reuse players, reframes, subscribe players. It's probably not it's not very useful at the moment, but now we can no, that's not very useful at all, because the color of the cell is not dependent on the current player, but on all the players. So we need to toggle the cell with that one player, right? We need to add this to the player, and that means that here we need to say which player has this cell, which is the get in db players current. So that means that if we look at what will happen now, we close this one, we should see that if we do the next cell, it should also have the value of player 1.
Beautiful.
And then the next one, it should have player 0. So given that, we now have the... It's beautiful how this entire thing works, right? Given that, we will go into the cell, and this cell already gets the cell meta parent cell, and this cell meta is the subs. Board subs. Cell meta getting board sub cell subcell, so it already gets the metadata that we added here. So to prove a point, or just to player data. No, that's to. Oh, I need to deref it. Right? So now we see that.
You know what? We sort of forgot the fact that you get to mark 2 cells at a time.
Sure. Now we had the we talked about it briefly beforehand. We first going to do the player to the cell, so we have the player identity, and then we can enhance the switch when we add the 2 cell selection. So so for now, let's make the player 1 cells a different color, and then we have that sorted out. We also need to keep track of the turn, so we can say, well, this cell was done at turn 1 and this cell at turn 2. So that will be the next one as well. So let's first add a different color for a player. So here we have the mark class. So that means that this cell will be different from the other one, and so we can just add it with stir player player tick tick, and then have player from data. Oh, the dog is awake. Let's see, that should... Uh-oh. What's the time? 10:30? Let me grab the dog from downstairs, but...
Sure.
We should now see that this cell is also marked as player 0. So now we can add some... Perhaps you want to add a... not that one. It's something else I made. No, don't kill it. No, I need it. Anyway. Boards.css. I don't have it yet. Yeah, let me grab this up. Maybe you want to make a different class for that player. But I will grab the dog. So yeah, he hears us talking upstairs and then he feels left out. It's really sad. There we go.
What did we call it?
Player -0, I believe. Yeah. So there's a mark. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Next to the 0. There we go.
This is gonna be a long day. You better type if you can. I don't have the basic. We need to figure that one out. I can probably just switch my layout to what you use and.
Yeah, I just have the US here. Let's see. Let's red, green, blue. Let's do something like this, right? What will happen? I too much time in. There's a different color. Let's make it a little bit more bluish. Hey. Niet my biter. There we go. We have a very nice distinct color now. So that's beautiful. So we have different cells. Nice. All right. So. All right. So let's see. So now what we need to do, we only switch players when we have 2 cells marked, right? That's the...
Yeah. Do we wanna... No, I was thinking it would be cleaner to have the 2 classes that actually reflect. Right now you're defaulting to one just called mark for one of the players, but we can always clean that up. Yeah,
true. There's actually no... The mark was just the first one to say, hey, I have this cell. So there's actually no need for this. That's true. The dog becomes very... Yeah, you hear a lot of talking, huh? He's got very sharp little teeth now. Because as a puppy he has a lot of... He has to change teeth as well. So just with a baby he has this very, very need to chew on things, which is mostly my hands.
Lovely. Shoes, right?
Shoes and hands. So that's... But we have this toy as well. So go eat the toy. Yes, beautiful. Ga maar liggen. All right, so let's first go and currently we just toggle a cell and we assign a player to it, and then we tell it to switch players. But if we look at the entire flow of things, right, we could say we start with toggle a cell, and then we need to see if it's a valid entanglement. And in the end we need to switch players. because then we can also say things like need to collapse and stuff like that, so we can chain the entire event cycle to each other.
Yeah.
So currently we've done the toggle cell and switch players. So we can now say, let's make an event. Is this a valid move? A valid move, it's much better. And then based on that, we can say either you need to make another selection, or you need to switch players, right?
Yeah.
So let's see. Reframe, register event fx, valid move. Let's see. So we again get the co-effects. So we're interested in the dB for now, right? And we get some event metadata. Do we need that at the moment? Probably not. And what we need to have some form of tracking the current moves. Yeah, if we have we have the current board where we have the metadata on the cell level, but basically for each turn you would want to know what the selections have been, so you can easily track them, I guess. But then we need to have two things that keep track of the cells. I'm thinking, can we now say, oh, if we pass along the cell index, we can see if it is entangled with something already, and if it's not, yeah, that's. So we can have some. We have the event when we have the cell and subcell. So the coordinates. And now we need to, let's see, currently here when we toggle it, we don't, so we first select, say 0, 0, and then that gets toggled. That's fine, that gets toggled all the way down, it's marked. But then we need to select another one, and that one knows about 0, 0 by nothing, I guess. How does it know?
No, I'm thinking, maybe we want actually an entry in the database of what the current move looks like.
Yeah. So let's do that. Let's go to the DB, and let's say let's call it a selection, which is simply a list, and it can, for instance, be in our previous example index 0, 0, and then the next one. At that point there's no need. So all you need is the current index. So for instance 0, 0, and then with the next toggle you will be processing cell 1, 0, and then you know what the previous one was, and then we can make an entanglement and switch the player. So all we need is this one selection. So that's fine. So
what's the current selection for at the moment? The entry just below.
Yeah. That's we already thought of this. So we can remove this one now. All right. So we have a selection. So we can toggle the cell. The cell, it needs to be valid, which is a cell that is not currently toggled. So that's one already. So, there we go. All right. So do we add it here? No, we added probably toggle cell. If it was not toggled, it's true. All right. So, but then we need to. When do we set the selection? We set the selection when we toggle the first one. Maybe we could just do this, right? We can say we call it a selection, but it's actually a list, and we just add the cells to the list. And then when we validate the entanglement, if there's 2 entries in the list, we entangle those 2. That might be easier from a usage standpoint. Let's see, then we need to clean up this stuff as well. Let's see, a valid cell from the database subcell. Because this will get quite messy. Let's see. That's the player. So all we do here is, if it is a valid cell, we update the togglement, and else we just return it. So actually toggling a cell, it becomes more of a thing. So if we make a function of it, toggle cell, what do we have? We have a database, a cell, and a subcell, right? And that returns the updated database right here. So that is still valid. So this should still have the same effect. Toggle cell, db cell subcell, right? So that should all still work. Yeah, that's beautiful. Also means that we can actually test toggle cell, right? A pure function is much easier to test than anything else. So let's move that up here. But with the togglement of the cell, we now also need to associate into the database that the current cell is added to the list of selection. So now we can just say we thread the database through all these associations here. Right? So we first associate the togglement, so we know the cell has a player and everything. And now we would that be possible with update in then? Update in selection, and then we need to basically would be a conch then. I wonder if that works, right? So we have this update in, we have a database which has a selection, which has a list. Let's there we go. And then we say for the selection key, conch 1 no item 0 in a factor of length. There we go. Beautiful. Gaat het hondje. Kom maar. Taro. Ga maar lekker liggen. Oh, brain fails concat maybe. Probably does not know about what it is trying to do right now. That's
Concat would merge it, so you don't want that.
No.
You wanna add a vector of cell and subcell, right, at the end.
Yeah. So that would just be.
I think it's just the argument order that's messing with you.
Yeah. Let's see. I love the REPL, right? Because you can just try stuff. Beautiful. Alright, so that works. Trying to do it all in once. That's like a move to the other cell. That's also a big risk of closure and closure script, right? You try to compact everything into one statement. There we go. So now the database, it will get. So if we take a look at the refrisk now, we should see selection being expanded every single time we click on it. So we first need to reload it because we updated the database, of course. Let's see. The AppDB. It has a selection of 0 items. Let's add 1 item. 1 item of 2 items. Oh, yes.
That's hard-coded.
Subcell. Right. So there we go. So now we should see 0, 1 being added. And then 1, 4, right? Beautiful. So all we need to do now is we start off with an empty selection.
What happened to the color?
To the what?
The color was the same.
Oh, let me see. Okay.
I think it's this class, the fact that how we're naming the class when we are updating that's biting us now. Yeah, see, the mark class is gone, right? Because because it's always just creating a class from the name of the player. Yes.
All right. Yeah. So let's focus on our. That needs to be cleaned up, and it's probably just being able to just say, just having the player mark is more than enough. But we're doing this right now, and the toggle cell. So instead of having the cell being passed along, it has the database, and the database has a selection already. So let selection is selection db, and then if cancel if there's 2, must be an easy way to do this, then it is actually a switch player moment, and then with the switch player we need to also clear the selection, right? So then let's first. All we need to do is say db assoc db selection is an empty list, and we dispatch to switch player, and that means that this one moves to valid move, right? And I will be very surprised if this works at the first go, right? Well, look at that. That works. That works. So this 0 and 1 is actually wrong. We need to put that in relation to the move, the turn. So these cells were selected first on turn 1, these on turn 2, these on turn 3, and that gives us the that insight as well. But that's beautiful. So we have that set up. So all we need to do is add a turn.
Yeah, we're supposed to also use insert that little subscript, right? So you can see what turn.
Yes. So that's true. So we need that variable anyways. So we can have this. We already talked about that as well. So what we need to do is toggle cell. It's a valid move. Valid move. It switches the players, and the player when we switch players, it actually moves the turn to the next version, to the next person as well, of course. And actually, we can thinking about it, to determine which player it is, we can actually use the turn as well. No, we cannot. It only works with two. That's fine. Brain fart. All right. That should be, and then we can do update in turn. We can just increment it, and for the cell, that means that the cell not only gets the player as a piece of metadata, but also the turn. So that is here. As in board cell, and that would be turn db, right? And then in the view, instead of having the player as metadata, we can say we do a turn as metadata, right? Reload it, and so far so good. And what do you think will happen now? Yes, beautiful. All right, so that's beautiful.
So you just need to compose those two in there. Do you have enough CSS food to make a subscript that shows the turn inside the cell?
I have, as you call it, no CSS foo. So, but I stole something. I stole it, I believe. Where did I put it? Clear about. Yeah, I believe it was this thing. No, that's turn. No, I have zero skills on that, so I need to figure that out. What would that be? Superposition. It's always very interesting. That would be something like a. Why have so many lines here? All right. So let's do what everybody else does. CSS subscript text. Vertical line super. Vertical line super.
But Superscript is like
The
upright,
top.
so
Yeah, we need to actually have it
there
down.
must be a sub. I mean, if there's a super,
There
there must
should
be
be
a
a sub as well. There we go.
yeah,
Vertical
there you
line
go.
sub. Sub. Let's see what happens to. Maybe font size 50%. Beautiful. Psst. Don't eat me. Yeah, probably something like that. But I'm thinking maybe that's not very needed at the moment, so we can get away by not doing it yet. Maybe we can first try to figure out the. Well, we need to do some. Hey, that's my finger. That's my finger. Chew this. We need to track the entanglements still, right? So I'm gonna do what everybody else does with CSS and just postpone it until later. First make it work, then make it pretty. People always say, right? So because we can basically say, let's let's first finish it up. Because we did the selection, we switched the player, we keep track of the turn, but on the board itself, this cell has no clue what it is, and what it is entangled with. Taro, niet kauwen. Niet in mijn hand kauwen. Nee. Here. Trying to stop the dog from eating my hand. Stop doing it. There we go. Normally during the week we're not home, so we have this dog sitting service that takes him outside and does stuff. So when you're home, he gets kind of weird because it is totally something else. Can you? What? There's the T Soding says, can you manage to fit the game into 5 qubits? Now I need to figure out what 5 qubits are.
Qubits, it's the quantum computing equivalent of a bit.
Ah, okay. Well, would that be possible? I don't know.
I think 5 qubits is probably a little bit too little, but I have no clue about quantum computing, so.
Hey, shh. Down. Down. Yeah, do this. Let's see. What I was going to say, we have the board, we have these indexes, we have the turns, the toggles, but this cell does not have any clue to what it is entangled. So when we want to actually collapse the cells later on, we need to track that entanglement, as you already mentioned. So let's do that. My dog needs to calm down. Shh. Oh, nay.
So just before we move on from the turn, we could probably update the entanglement, right?
Yes, indeed. So right here. Hey. Yeah. So let's see what we have at this point. We have the database and we have the entanglement. So we need to get the cell that is being toggled. Let's see if it
Yeah,
is.
but we can only do it if it's the second one, right?
Indeed.
If we're about to leave, if we're about to switch turns, we can update the entanglement, not before.
Yeah, maybe that's.
Oh no, sorry, we. Or can we?
Well, we can actually use the coordinates to grab the cell and make a separate step of marking the entanglements. But first I need to get a chew toy for the dog because he's going insane. So, but I think if we go to, we add a step in the logic that says mark entanglements, we can just do that. But I'll be back real quick. Calm down. So there we go. Yeah, I remember from my kid when he had his teething, he was so in pain that he need to chew on everything, even if it was your own finger, right? So yes, can you hold that yourself, doggy? Okay, let's see. So we have these already. So we have these toggles, we have these valid moves. Need to collapse, but we can say we add a step here. Mark entanglements, right? That is done before going through the entire thing. So we can make that a pure function as well. Mark and mark. Entanglement db, that's enough, and all we need is the selection of it as well. But T. Soding, to answer your question, we have no clue. Do you do you know? Let's see. Okay, so we take the db, we grab the selection. Selection from the DB, and then that's a list. So all we need to do is to can we use a for loop for? I hardly ever use the for loop, right? You start throwing it around, it's not very useful, man. There we go. Let's grab the closure docs. Seems like something.
What do you want to know?
Just the syntax for the for loop. Because
I can help you out with that.
You already beautiful. So we could just.
So you have like a vector now, and there you have the equivalent of a let binding. So you name a variable. So for cell or something in whatever you're passing in.
Yeah.
And then you just go from there.
Yeah. So like s from cell. So it will go over the vector from cell and just add it to s then, right?
Yes.
So so we have that, and then we grab the get in the database. We need the board, and then we have the index of the cell. So that's the just the s will not work. We need to have the. We need to make this not s. We need to make it. Cell sub cell, right? Then we have cell sub cell. So then we have the metadata of the cell. So can we just no, let's just say we have the meta as well. So we grab this. Parentheses, all fine. So we have the metadata of the cell, and then we need to update the DB. Update in DB. Board cell. Oh, there we go. Subcell. Am I making sense now? This will not work because we're iterating of the cells and we need the next one or the other one, so will not work. Probably we know that we'll have two entities, so we can say first. Ow. Doggy dog. Get a dog, they say, you will have a relaxing time. Alright, so the first one of the pair. So we can say first and second. And then we can just...
You can do that in a destructuring in the first one.
Indeed,
yeah, exactly.
yeah. So we have the first and the second. And I'm lazy, so we'll just call it F and S, right? Maybe I should get your basket. Is that a good idea? Because you take a lot of energy now, man. Yeah, so take those two and then update those. But let me grab his thing that he can lay on, and then maybe we'll have some spare time now. I got my exercise today. There we go.
I have to dash. Sorry.
Oh yeah, it's already 11. Yeah, so let's leave this one for next week. And then
you can of course continue if you want to, but we can also pick it up later, whatever we.
Yeah, I think that will be a very good idea because the dog itself wants to go and probably go for a walk. So I think we made some great progress, and we'll leave it at this, right?
Cool.
All right. Well,
cheers.
See you again next week, same time.
See you.
And then let's. I will also stop the live stream. So tune in next week. Martin and I will continue. And well, if you have any feedback on this pair programming thing, drop some comments below and let us know.
And we'll figure out the keyboard for next time.
Yeah, that will be wonderful. All right. See you next time. Bye-bye.